Hi everyone, just welcome to a new video on Databricks to the Dark Academy. So today we're gonna cover what you can do on a notebook, how you can create one. So just click on here, new notebook, then you provide a name in here, like for example, new notebook demo, and that's all you have to do. Um, if I wanna do something like print, this is Python, so we can just write Python code in here. Sorry, I'm just changing keywords from now and then, and basically just get confused. So we just try to run it here. It's gonna say as a automatic compute resource connect, and it's gonna change to direct cluster. So what has happened? I'm just gonna tell you what has happened. Whenever we run a notebook or any cell or all the cells in the notebook, we need to have the notebook linked to a cluster to execute the Python code, right? So we're gonna have three main things, three things: data, compute, and code or notebooks. So basically, we're gonna run transformations, trainings, whatever on notebooks. That's code. We're gonna use the data that we may have stored somewhere in the Databricks solution or elsewhere. We could import it in some ways, and then we're gonna have compute, and the compute is basically the cluster. So we need to run a notebook to process the data on a compute or on a cluster, and that's why it has connected to here. We could have multiple clusters. I don't know if as a community a version of Databricks I'm able to create more clusters. We're gonna test later on, and we could have different thoughts in here. So I'm gonna show you guys what you could do, something that you can do if you want to get started. If I just click again on workspace, we're gonna have two notebooks. This is the new that I just created, and this is the previous one. If I open the original one, we have, well, this is an introduction that we can have. I'm just gonna try to improve this a bit. This is Markdown, so as you guys saw, if I just double click on here, this is a cell, this is a notebook cell. We could have a cell by just clicking on plus, okay? If we click plus for code, the new cell is gonna be a code cell. If we click plus for text, this is gonna be kind of the same thing as before, but it's gonna have a magic identifier or just percentage, whatever, and that's gonna be MD for Markdown. So whatever we write in this cell is gonna have the Markdown format. We should write that, and whenever I just click outside of this is gonna render that Markdown. So just let me improve this thing in here. I'm just gonna go for adding, adding these hyphens. And there you go, much better now. Okay, so as you can see, this is pretty much it. We could delete, we could do all the things like copy cell, cut, add above, add below. These are some shortcuts, so command or control A and V, I guess. Like if I do, oops, I don't know what happened. Oh yeah, A, no, just A. We don't have to do control. Okay, and I think I just hit everything below. Let me just remove this one, let me just remove this one, and this is basically it. So this is a Python one. If I just try to run this cell, which is basically import transformers, and before it didn't work, and now magic, it is working. And why that happened? Because whatever you run on your cluster, on your environment, that's gonna have memory, right? So if we I installed before the transformers package with a pip install. If we want to remove it, we should do something like pip uninstall, I guess. We need to do hyphen y, I guess. Yeah, and now it is uninstalling the thing. Okay, so we don't have any more the transformers installed. If we try to run it, this is gonna give us an error. The error comes in here, and everything is kind of clean. Like we are seeing the error that we get, and now if we click on this symbol right here, we can see the reasons why, the stack trace. So that's quite a way of making everything clean on the UI these guys are doing. So let me just install it again by just doing the same thing as before. We don't need the hyphen, we just need to do this. So this is great to fail, to make some mistakes, to fix them, and so on and so forth. As it is running, we could stop it. If we don't want to keep running the code, we can just click on interrupt and just gonna let it happen. And we can try to import again and do some things with transformers. Not gonna do it now. Okay, so this is basically more Python code. The output appears down there. We could just collapse or expand. Like if we collapse the results, or if you collapse or if you move the cells, that's something interesting. We can also run SQL. We just need to do the magic command SQL and then select all from samples, New York Taxi, City, and trips. So basically the first thing is called the catalog, then the schema, and then the table. So we have two catalogs right here. One of them is called samples, that has three schemas: the default, the New York Taxi, and the TPCH. And then we have the Hive MetaStore catalog that has the default schema but has no data inside. So as far as I can tell, the Hive MetaStore happened before the Unity catalog that is now implemented on Databricks, but as well you can use it if you prefer. That's something they kept. So whenever we execute something like this, select whatever, just click on play, it's gonna run, it's gonna give us the results, but it's gonna show us the state of the Spark jobs, and it has run a couple of jobs to make this query, and we can see more information relevant to the Spark job if we click on view. Okay, and remember, Spark is about decentralizing compute, scale-out compute. So instead of having just a huge node, you have many small nodes, and you can distribute the compute on all those different small nodes because you have all of them under the same cluster. Yeah, basically these are the results. I'm just right in the middle, but don't worry. These are the stages, this is the time it took, and these are the results. We could have some metrics. We could see the DAG, like what happened. First, file scan RDE, map partitions, that's everything that happened. And we could also have a look at the jobs. Okay, these are the jobs that has been executed on the background regarding on this notebook. So with that being said, okay, this is kind of internal. We don't need to look at it, just if we need to debug something. But just basically so that you could know that you can do it. And this is basically the results that we get. This is pretty much the same as we saw before. On the catalog, we have a couple of date times. We have the trip distance, far mount, a pickup zip, and the drop of zip. And that's pretty much it. If we scroll, we get all the results. Truncated data, we could download the data if we click on here, of the first 10k rows, or you can just download all of them if you prefer. So this is pretty quick, right? You have the data in your catalog, you want to download it just to make some testing locally, you can do it. All the things that we can do is just have a look inside the file system, the Databricks file system. We can run some commands like ls on the data, we get the path of the files, so it is basically a lot of CSVs, one per day, well, one per month, sorry, January, February, March, or whatever, up until December 2009, then 2010, okay, for the different datas. And then we have some name for the file, the size, and modification times as a timestamp. Okay, this is pretty much the data that we have, and whenever we loaded all the data on the table that you saw before, that gave us the results like aggregated. We could have a look at how many of them are. Like if we do count, this is basically SQL, so if you know SQL, you can run it in here. We could, okay, let me now do something more. Like this is 21k row counts. Okay. So, what else? We can run also cell commands with sh and then the command that we want to run. We can delete the cells if we don't want to have them on the notebook. Let's click on confirm. These are all the commands that are available on percentage ls magic. Okay. This is in order to have a look at different parts of the configuration of the Databricks. This is basically the environment that is on our cluster, on our notebook. So these are all the variables. This is basically how they run these Databricks. That's kind of fun. And this is the command. So you could reproduce these locally if you preferred. But again, this is easy. You come in here, just deploy the notebook and work with it as you prefer. And basically this is for setting new variables. Like if we have a look at them later on, we could have access to them. If we click on it, it doesn't exist, but whenever we click on it, we create the variable. We try to get the value, it exists. So that's perfect. Okay, so this is pretty much the main parts that you can do with your Databricks cluster. You also have access to Scala. You also have access to R programming language to run different pipelines, processing data pipelines. But this is pretty much everything I wanted to show you guys on the notebook platform that you can have on Databricks. So I hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe, click on the bell button, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.